Here we are again at the Riverwalk. Real nice day today, and haven't been out here in a while, and really miss it because otherwise it's just indoors all the time, or in the car, or shopping for groceries and shit like that. Out here, it's sun, water, fresh air, nature, and no signage, no commercial messages. And that is something I want to get off my chest today. I think I mentioned last time that I picked up some magazines called Communication Arts, which has been around since the 50s. It's basically about advertising art. Well, they call it art, arts, whatever, craft, maybe. Might be a better term. But initially, on looking at them, first few issues, it's like I was quite impressed with the skill, creativity that went into all these things, the designs, the colors, the fonts, the photography, all these things. But the more I looked at it, and the more I realized how much energy people put into this, and for the reasons why, it began to creep me out. And the reason being is that it's basically people, struggling for economic survival, basically, a job, working for these giant corporations, giving them their creativity. Look, it's a big one there. In order to, promote their product, their company. And we all sort of take this for granted. Commerce and capitalism and business and money. These things are all great, wonderful, and part and parcel of our system. But the more I looked at this stuff, and I mean a tremendous amount of it is business logos, right? So I began analyzing these things, and I was looking at initially all this stuff from a creative perspective, like what can I learn from this? How can I use these sorts of techniques, design techniques, fonts, lettering, things like that. And what happened was, when I got into that mindset, now when I ran an errand or went somewhere in the car, something like that, I began to notice something I hadn't noticed before. And that is basically how many commercial symbols, signage, logos, business logos that there are everywhere. Basically, there's two kinds of businesses. One is fairly low-key local business. It'll be like Bob's Lawn Service or something like that. It won't have a logo. It won't have a symbol of a lawnmower, perhaps, or a local icon or something like that. It's just words telling you what it is. But everything else, restaurants, banks, retail stores, you name it, they have these symbols, these logos. And, enough is enough, people. It really is. Because we've grown up in this environment, we take this stuff for granted. It's like it's part of the background in a way. But it's not. It has an effect. And what I realized was that one day I did a little exercise where I was driving around, and I said, I'm going to start counting how many business messages that I see. And I challenge anyone to do this in any area that's even the least bit developed. Even on highways, where you wouldn't think there's that much. Well, once you start counting, you find it's astonishing. So if you're driving in a regular commercial area, you literally can't count them all, because every car, every vehicle has a make, it has a brand name. Every business has one. Utility things have them. There's literally no end to it. Each of them speaking this uninvited message to you, basically, uninvited. Now, when it comes to commercial advertising, we suffer through it. It's like if you're online, you can, pay for no commercials on YouTube or things like that. TV, people have grown to prefer cable because they don't have the TV commercials popping up every 5 minutes. Well, when it comes to the visual commercials, I began to realize it's like, there's not really any difference between someone with a bullhorn yelling at you, to buy this or do this or something out in public. That would be illegal. That would be harassment. Visually, however, it's acceptable. And basically, it's been said that money is the root of all evil. Well, the advertising is sort of the handmaiden of the evil. It's the thing without which the evil could not prosper. So what's happening now with corporations and their advertising is that they are trying to position themselves as being morally conscientious. We're good. We stand for social issues, whatever it is. Now, there are some companies that don't do this. Chick-fil-A is one. They're kind of right-wing. Hobby Lobby is right-wing fundamentalist. But you go in their store and they don't have anti-abortion stuff necessarily or things like that. Although, because they're not telegraphing their, position on race or things like that or gender, then you can pretty much tell what side they're on. But anyway, what a lot of companies are doing is, Target is one. They're broadcasting all the time equality, racial, gender, and everything else. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with that. Sure, there's not. But is there something the matter with people where they can't make these decisions themselves, that they have to have a business do that? Because if you or I make the decision to do that, then that's the end of it. It's all internal. There's no external motivation or manipulation to make you do that. It's your choice. So anyway, you might have been convinced by events, but anyway, what happens with these companies is that I think it's very important to remember that they are in it for profit first. So no matter what they say about civil rights or anything else, it's secondary. They may present it as being primary, but it's not. It's secondary. Money is first. So you might equate it, and I'll probably do a cartoon on this, about this at some point, where it's literally like one analogy is that, here's a helping hand, to help you, while the other hand picks your pocket, right? Or an analogy might be a vampire, where, the vampire pretends to be your friend, pretends to care, pretends to be kind, concerned, and then you wake up every morning and you got 2 holes in your neck. So after a while, you get weaker and weaker, and you don't know what's happening, and you get used to being drained, so you kind of think that's the norm. Oh, I don't know, maybe I always felt this way. You can't remember after a while what it was to feel any different. And the vampire every morning is waking up and feeling great and saying, you know, oh, I love you and I care about you, when it's all bullshit. So this is where we are in the modern world. Money, the way that money creates basically unconscious processes, whether it be industrialization, manufacturing, retail, all these things. The money creates this, and as soon as money accrues into a sizable enough sum to be a company, corporation, to have stockholders, things like that, shares, then it's no longer human. It has nothing to do with humanity, people, or anything. It's its own process. You could liken it to a tumor or a cancer cell. So anyway, where we are on Earth, mankind, is that this money thing is leading to our own destruction. Not to be a doomsayer, I mean, I don't have to do that because you can see it. You can see it happening. So, anyway, I guess that's about it. You know, these, like I said, these commercial messages out there, the signage, the business logos and everything else, if you start to see them for what they are, don't just let them blend into the background. Realize that it's muddied interests basically shouting at you, trying to get your attention. I mean, you don't want the TV commercials, right? It's like, why should we put up with that? So, a good solution might be to smash them. But then I guess they put up cameras and watch you doing that. Fill eggs with paint and bombard them. Or, as I often do, ridicule them through satire. And in a way, this is what Mad Magazine did in the beginning, was that they ridiculed advertising. And so it was enlightening. It opened people's eyes, and what happened was that the advertisers had to kind of regroup and redesign things to be more subtle. So, there's a couple more things. What you see in advertising photography these days, like say, for example, you got a junk mail thing from whoever, Costco maybe, and it's all these color photographs on the envelope or the catalog, and you look at it and like everyone's smiling. The family is all together doing something, and they're all so happy, and they're just smiling ear to ear. And the pets are there, and the children are there, and photographer took the picture, basically waited God knows how long to try to catch a moment, or perhaps manufacture a moment, and then they put it out there, and it's like, man, you never see people that happy. It doesn't happen, so extremely rare. And so they're essentially fake, right? So those sort of photographs, there goes a bird, are strictly designed to be manipulative. And so that's one kind of fake reality. And another thing that is happening with race issues, which I am very sensitive to, is that you're finding that more people of color are being included in promotional ad campaigns via photographs. But what you'll find, for example, it's rarely men that are depicted, it's women. So the advertisers know that showing a man in an advertisement can be construed as a threat. So they prefer not to do that. They prefer to have women and children. So what you'll find is, in increasing numbers, you'll have women of color in the advertisements. But they are only of a certain hue. They are not too dark. They are not white. They are somewhere in the middle. So it's like they could be construed as being black, but not enough to be offensive to white people. Their hair, for example, it won't be an afro, it'll be large, but it'll have curve to it. Very subtle. So the types of models that they get to do these campaigns, you literally never see anyone that looks like that. Hardly ever, right? This very careful interbred mix of black and white. So that's one thing that you have. Another thing is that if you have a campaign, say it's for mattresses, and you have a couple and they're African American, what you'll find is the woman is never darker than the man. The man is always darker than the woman. And, here again, it's the vampire with their hand in your pocket. It's like, we're going to play games with you. We're going to manipulate you. You fucking dumbass, just go along with it. So, anyway, it's irritating because there's no escape from it. Everywhere you go, I'm visually oriented, I'm an artist, so you go places and it's like, oh, there they are again. Oh, here's a new, there's a new logo for a bank, Trustius or something like that. Worst logo I've ever seen in my life. What, they paid for that? It's all over town now. It's like for a visual person, it's like a megaphone in your ear, So anyway, going to try to do something about that. Another thing that's happening is I'm launching a bunch of new stuff, and one is a monthly magazine called the Fan Mag, the Mike Hoffman Fan Mag. There's going to be all kinds of stuff in there, satire like this. There's going to be book reviews. There's going to be contributions from fans, previews of artwork, technical stuff, previews of upcoming books, drawing and painting books and all kinds of things like that. Unseen material I've created, all kinds of stuff like that. It's going to be very different. And anyway, so that's coming up. Also, my website, MikeHoffman.com, has been completely redone. Is a secure website now, where it wasn't before. So anyway, I encourage you to check those out and get on the mailing list. And I guess that's it. So happy signage.